One cold afternoon, a starving poor girl stumbled to a billionaire's mansion to beg for just one plate of food. But the moment she stepped inside, her eyes froze. Hanging on the billionaire's wall, framed in gold, was a picture of her as a little child. How is that even possible? What is her childhood photo doing in a stranger's mansion? And what happens next will leave you speechless and wondering about destiny. Before we dive in, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional African stories. The night had barely settled over the city, yet the streets already felt colder than usual, cold enough to remind Kamsai that she did not belong anywhere. At just 19, she had learned more about survival than most people twice her age. Life had pushed her hard, harder than she ever imagined, and now she stood alone under a broken kiosk near Ogbete Market, clutching her thin arms as a sharp breeze sliced through her torn blouse. Her stomach growled again, loud and painful. It had been 2 days since she had last eaten a proper meal, just a stale biscuit someone dropped on the road and a cup of water she managed to collect when rain fell the previous evening. Hunger was no longer just a feeling. It was a fire burning inside her belly, a pressure squeezing her ribs, a dizziness that made the ground sway beneath her feet. Kamsi leaned against the wooden kiosk and slid slowly to the ground. Her bones ached from sleeping on cement, her throat felt sore from calling out for help that never came, and her lips were cracked from the sun. Yet she refused to cry. Life had taught her that tears never brought food. She took a deep breath and whispered to the dark sky, "God, just help me survive this night." People passed by, vendors closing their shops, students heading home, workers returning from their shifts. Some glanced at her with pity, others with irritation, but none stopped. After years on these streets, Kamsi had become invisible. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, the only memory she clung to whenever the world felt unbearable. "My sunshine, no matter how hard life gets, never lose hope." Sunshine. That was what her mother used to call her. But with her mother gone for almost 5 years now, Kamsi felt like a dying ember. She hugged her knees tighter, trying to conserve whatever warmth she had left. The night breeze carried the smell of roasted corn and frying akara from a nearby stall, and the scent hit her stomach like a painful slap. She tried to distract herself, humming softly, but her voice trembled. A woman selling vegetables across the road noticed her shivering and walked closer. "Hey, small girl," the woman called out gently. "You know Dago house." Kamsi shook her head. I don't have a house, Ma. I'm just trying to rest small." The woman sighed deeply. "Come here." Kamsi struggled up and walked toward her. The woman studied her from head to toe, the sunken eyes, the thin wrists, the clothes hanging loosely on her frail body. "You look hungry," the woman said. Kamsi opened her mouth to speak, but tears betrayed her. She nodded slowly. The woman glanced around cautiously, then reached into a basket and pulled out a very small piece of yam peel. Barely anything. She lowered her voice. "This is all I get throw away today. Take am. I know fit give you better food. Dim go sack me." Kamsi accepted it with shaky hands. Even though it was nothing, she bowed her head gratefully. "Thank you, Ma. God bless you." The woman touched her shoulder. "If hunger won't kill you like this, why you no try that big mansion for Hilltop? Them they give leftover food sometimes. Rich man's place. Try your luck." Kamsi froze. Hilltop Estate? That neighborhood was like another world. Mansions, high gates, expensive cars. People like her didn't belong there. How would they even allow her near the gate? But hunger had swallowed her pride long ago. "Do you think they will answer me?" she whispered. The woman shrugged. "Try. If you no try, hunger fit finish you here." The wind blew again, colder now. Kamsi's teeth began to chatter. She looked up the long road leading to Hilltop. She had never walked that far before, but the night was quiet, and the city lights shimmered faintly like a distant promise. With no food, no shelter, and no strength left, she felt she had nothing to lose. She tied her only possession, a nylon bag containing her late mother's scarf, around her wrist and pushed herself up. Her legs shook, and she felt faint, but she forced herself to move. Each step toward Hilltop felt like climbing a mountain. The road sloped upward, and her breath became heavy. She staggered once, grabbing a street pole to steady herself. Twice she considered turning back, but then she remembered her mother's face, her laughter, her warm hands, her words. "My sunshine, don't give up." "No," Kamsi whispered to herself. I will not die on these streets. She continued walking. Cars zoomed past, splashing dirty rainwater on her legs. A group of boys laughed as she stumbled. A woman crossed to the other side of the road to avoid her. Still, she pushed forward. By the time she reached the first tall fences of Hilltop Estate, she was trembling, hungry, exhausted, and covered in dust and sweat. The houses were massive, their compound lights bright, their gardens neatly manicured. Everything looked too perfect, too far from the chaos of the streets she came from. For a moment, she felt small, useless, unworthy. But the burning in her stomach reminded her that she needed to try. She leaned on the wall to catch her breath before heading toward the grandest mansion on the street, a massive black gate with golden lions carved into it. Light shone from inside. She could hear movement, quiet laughter, distant music. People were alive in there, eating, drinking, living. Kamsi swallowed hard. God, please, just one plate of food, she whispered. Then, gathering the last strength she had, she raised her trembling hand and knocked on the billionaire's gate. The night breeze grew colder as Kamsi stood before the enormous black and gold gate. Her heart thumped softly, more from fear than exhaustion. She wiped her palms on her torn skirt, took a shaky breath, and knocked again. This time harder. Knock, knock, knock. At first, nothing happened. Then a small window in the gate slid open and two tired eyes peered out. "What new day find here?" the gateman barked. His voice was deep and irritated, thick with impatience. Kamsi bowed her head immediately. "Good evening, sir. Please, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten for days. I was told that sometimes you—" The man cut her off with a harsh laugh. "So na food you want come chop for billionaire house? You dey craze. I beg komat here." His words stung like hot oil, but hunger had killed her pride long ago. She took a step closer. "Please, sir, I'm not here to disturb, even if it's leftover food." The man hissed loudly. "You hear me so? Come out for here. This place no be charity home." Kamsi's heart dropped, but she mustered courage again. "Sir, please, I don't want money, just something small to eat." The man shoved the small window shut. Kamsi blinked at the closed metal, fighting tears. She knocked again gently. "Sir, please." The gate swung open a crack, not enough for her to enter, but enough for the gateman to step out. He was tall, muscular, and frowning deeply. His uniform looked neat, his boots shining, even his belt looked expensive. He pointed a thick finger at her face. "I say leave this place. You dey worry person for night. Now beggars like Una they give this compound bad look." Kamsi swallowed painfully. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm really sorry, but please, just food." He scoffed. "Food ko, fruit ni. Oya move." She didn't move. She couldn't. The dizziness was swallowing her, and her stomach clenched painfully. Her eyes blurred for a second, and she steadied herself by holding the gate. That single act made the gateman furious. "Wouldn't be that? You dey hold gate?" he shouted. Before she could explain, he grabbed her wrist roughly and flung it away from the gate. Kamsi staggered back, nearly falling. "I said leave." Kamsi bit her lower lip. The humiliation burned inside her like fire, but desperation held her legs firm. She stood her ground, even though fear shook her bones. "Sir, I beg you, I won't go unless you help me. Please, please." Her voice cracked. That broke something in the gateman. He wasn't moved, he was enraged. "You know dey hear English a be? You want make I call police? Or you get out." She shook her head slowly, trembling. "I will faint here if I leave. Please, help me." The man marched toward her and shoved her hard on the shoulder. Kamsi crashed to the ground, her elbows scraping against the pavement. A few neighbors across the street turned to look. Some whispered. Others shook their heads, but no one came close. She remained on the ground for a moment, staring at the dust on her palms. Her breath quivered. Her throat tightened. For the first time in weeks, tears escaped her eyes. The gateman stood over her, unmoved. "You dey cry? Who send you come here cry? If you no stand up Komon, I go lock gate and you go sleep 4 road." Kamsi slowly pushed herself up, shaking slightly. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Please, sir," she whispered. I don't have any strength left." He hissed again, opened the gate, stepped inside, and slammed it loudly, locking her outside. Clang! The sound echoed deep inside her chest. She stared at the giant gate, blinking through tears, breathing heavily. She felt defeated, completely. But she did not leave. Her legs refused to carry her back down the hill. So she sat on the cold pavement beside the gutter, hugging her knees tightly. Her only possession, the nylon bag containing her late mother's scarf, rested beside her. The compound, lights from inside the mansion cast a faint glow on her pale face. She watched shadows move through the windows, the silhouettes of people living normal lives. People eating, people laughing, people sleeping on warm beds. She felt a painful knot in her throat. Is this how my life will end? She whispered into the wind. Time moved slowly. Cars passed occasionally. A group of boys returning from football practice pointed at her and laughed. See homeless girl day sleep for rich man gate. She thinks say money go fall from ski. Their voices stung, but she kept her head bowed. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Her eyelids drooped from exhaustion. Her body leaned against the wall, sliding down until her cheek rested on her knees. She tried to stay awake. Sleeping outside at night was dangerous. But hunger had drained every ounce of strength. Her mind floated in and out of consciousness. Just when she was drifting off, she heard the sound of an engine approaching. A car, a very expensive one. The heavy hum grew louder, and bright headlights washed over her from behind. The gate clicked and began to open. The gateman stepped out quickly, his posture suddenly alert and respectful. The car, a sleek black SUV, rolled into view. Even in her half-conscious state, Kamsi could tell this was no ordinary vehicle. Everything about it screamed wealth and authority. The gateman straightened, saluted, and the gate opened wider, and then the SUV stopped, because someone inside had seen her. Kamsi blinked weakly and raised her head. The driver's door opened, and a tall, distinguished man stepped out, well-dressed, powerful in presence, and commanding in silence. The billionaire himself, Chief Obina Okafor. His eyes landed on her, and in that single moment, the wheels of destiny began to turn. The night air stilled the moment Chief Obina Okafor stepped out of the SUV. His presence alone carried a quiet authority that made even the gateman, Musa, usually loud and brash, stand stiff like a soldier awaiting orders. Chief Obina was not a man easily ignored. His tall frame, neatly tailored suit, and calm but piercing eyes commanded attention. He was known across the state, philanthropist, business tycoon, widower, and the man whose daughter had mysteriously vanished 12 years ago, a wound that had never healed. But tonight he had not expected anything unusual. He only wanted to return home from a long charity event, eat a late dinner, and sleep. Until he saw her. The thin girl curled near his gate, her head against her knees, her clothes torn and dirty, her hands trembling, her breathing shallow, her entire body leaning against the cold pavement like she had reached the end of herself. Something sharp pierced through his chest. Musa, he said quietly, his voice low with disbelief. Who is that girl? The gateman cleared his throat awkwardly. Oga, no one stubborn beggar. I done tell and make she come on, but she no gree. She say she hunger. Chief Obina's gaze hardened. And you pushed her outside the gate? Musa swallowed. Sir, I thought. You thought? Chief Obina's voice sharpened just slightly. You thought the best solution was to throw a starving girl into the street? Musa looked down in shame. Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You didn't need to know anything, the billionaire interrupted. Humanity doesn't require information. It requires compassion. The gateman stammered an apology, but Chief Obina was no longer listening. His focus was fixed entirely on the frail girl who now struggled weakly to lift her head. Kamsi blinked at the lights, squinting, unsure whether she was awake or dreaming. Then she saw him, the billionaire. Tall, strong, dignified, and looking at her with an expression she had not seen in a very long time. Concern. Her heart fluttered with fear. She expected him to shout, or laugh, or ask her to leave like everyone else did. Instead, he stepped closer. Hello, he said gently. Can you hear me? Kamsi nodded weakly. What's your name, my dear? She opened her mouth, but her voice came out as a whisper. Kamsi. The name struck him, like a sudden blow. His breath caught. Kamsi? It was a common name, but still. He pushed the thought away and crouched slightly so he wouldn't tower over her. Kamsi, why are you sitting out here at night? He asked softly. She swallowed, tears gathering in her eyes. Sir, I came to beg for food. I've not eaten in 2 days. Her voice broke on the last word. Chief Udobina inhaled sharply, slow, controlled, but pained. He turned his eyes briefly toward Musa, whose face was already tight with guilt. Then he looked back at the girl who trembled in the cold like a leaf. How old are you? He asked gently. 19? 19. The age matched what his daughter would be now. He exhaled shakily. Again, he pushed the thought away. Where are your parents? My mother died 5 years ago. She paused, breathing unevenly. I never knew my father. The billionaire's heart clenched. He cleared his throat softly and extended a hand toward her. Stand up, my dear. You shouldn't be out here alone. Kamsi hesitated, unsure whether she was allowed to touch someone so wealthy. But when her legs attempted to support her, they buckled. Chief Obina caught her before she fell. His arms were warm, strong, caring, something she had not felt in years. He steadied her gently. Easy, easy. You're safe. Those words pierced something deep inside her, a wall she had built around her heart. No one had told her she was safe in a very long time. She looked up at him, eyes swimming with unshed tears. Sir, I'm sorry. I just needed food. I didn't want it to disturb. It's all right, he interrupted softly. You didn't disturb anyone. Hunger is not a crime. A tear rolled down her cheek. Chief Obina turned toward Musa. Open the gate. The gateman blinked, stunned. Sir, you want her to enter? Yes, the billionaire replied simply. And make sure it doesn't take you more than 1 second to open this gate whenever a hungry person knocks again. Yes, sir. Musa hurried to obey. The gate opened slowly, revealing the bright compound lights, the sprawling garden, and the elegant mansion beyond. Kamsi stared at it all in awe. She had never been near such a place in her life. Chief Obina noticed her hesitation. It's all right, he assured her. Come inside. But sir, she whispered, clutching her small nylon bag, I'm dirty. I might stain something. He smiled gently for the first time that night. Nothing in this compound is more important than a human being. Come. She followed him slowly through the gate. As she stepped inside, something washed over her, fear and relief all at once. The compound lights warmed her skin, and the scent of roasted chicken and spices from the kitchen hit her nose like a wave of memories she didn't know she had. Her knees nearly gave way. Chief Obina noticed immediately. Quickly, get her a chair, he ordered one of the housemaids who rushed out, and bring food, something warm. They guided Kamsi to a seat on the veranda. She sat carefully, her legs shaking uncontrollably. When the tray of food arrived, rice, chicken stew, fried plantain and water, she stared at it as though it was a dream. You can eat, Chief Obina encouraged softly. She nodded respectfully and began slowly. But hunger took over quickly. Tears ran down her face as she ate, half from relief, half from shame, half from the overwhelming kindness of a stranger. Chief Obina watched her with a strange heaviness in his chest. Why does she feel so familiar? Why does her face look like a memory? He shook the thought away again, trying to ignore the ache in his heart. When she finished, she wiped her eyes and whispered, Thank you, sir. God bless you. You don't know what you've done. He nodded, but the feeling wouldn't leave him. He needed to be sure. Bring her to the sitting room, he said quietly. Let her rest before going anywhere. Kamsi's eyes widened with surprise. Sir, I'm not supposed to enter a place like... You are safe here, he repeated. So she followed the maid inside, into the mansion, into the very home where her story began 19 years ago, and where destiny had brought her back. She did not know it. He did not know it. But fate knew, and now, nothing would ever be the same again. The moment Kamsi stepped into the mansion, it felt like she had crossed into another universe, one she had only seen through glass windows of expensive restaurants or on the screens of TV shops she occasionally stood beside. The air smelled of lavender and freshly baked bread. Soft, warm light glowed from golden chandeliers suspended from a ceiling so high it made her feel tiny. Her torn slippers pressed against polished marble tiles that shone like still water. She walked carefully, almost fearfully, afraid that each step would leave a permanent stain. The maid leading her, Ngozi, noticed her hesitation and smiled. Don't worry, sis. Just relax. You're safe here. Safe. That word still felt strange, foreign, suspicious even. Safety wasn't something Kamsi associated with mansions or strangers or life in general. Safety was a memory, her mother humming softly while braiding her hair by lamplight before sickness claimed her and left Kamsi to the world. Still, she allowed herself to breathe. For the first time in a long time, she felt air entering her lungs without fear. Ngozi gestured to a soft couch. Sit here. Olga said you should rest small before he talks to you. Before she could answer, her knees folded. She sank into the cushion, stunned by the softness. It felt like falling into clouds. Her eyes wandered around slowly, paintings of historical figures on the walls, a large bookshelf filled with gold-spined books, a coffee table decorated with fresh roses and a bowl of fruit she didn't dare touch. And then, her gaze froze. Something on the far wall stole her breath. A large framed photograph, beautifully lit by two warm wall lamps, showed a younger Chief Obinna holding a little girl in his arms. The girl couldn't have been more than 5. She had bright eyes, wide dimples, and a tiny birthmark near her neck. A birthmark exactly like hers. Kamsi frowned and squinted, as if her eyes were deceiving her. She stood up slowly, heart pounding in her ears. The world around her blurred. Only the picture remained sharp. She took one shaky step toward it, then another, drawn like a magnet. Her fingers trembled as she touched the glass of the frame. This fate, she whispered. Ngozi stopped arranging the table and turned. You know her? Kamsi didn't answer. Her throat had closed up. Her heart thudded wildly, painfully, as flashes of memory, long buried under years of struggle, rose from the depths of her mind like dust shaken from an old box. A woman laughing, a child running through a garden, warm hands lifting her, her hair in puffs, a voice calling her sunshine. She pressed her shaking fingers to her mouth. Tears gathered in her eyes. This, she whispered, this looks like me. Before she could say more, footsteps echoed behind her, controlled, familiar. Chief Obinna walked into the sitting room. He had changed into a looser shirt now, but he looked no less dignified. He carried an expression that mixed curiosity with unease, as though something deep inside him was stirring, and he wasn't sure whether to fear it or embrace it. When he saw her standing before that particular picture, his heart dropped. It was the picture he looked at every morning and every night, the picture of the daughter who vanished, the picture that had kept him alive through years of heartbreak. He inhaled deeply. You found that picture. Kamsi wiped her tears quickly and turned to him, uncertain if she would be punished for touching something so valuable. I'm sorry, sir, she stammered. I didn't mean to touch it. I saw the girl. Chief Obinna came closer, slowly, like a man walking toward a ghost he wasn't sure was real. His voice softened. What about the girl? Kamsi swallowed, hard. She looks like me, she whispered. I don't know how, but she looks like me. Her words hit him like a silent thunderbolt. He stared at her face, really stared. The dimples, the shape of her eyes, the curve of her lips, the birthmark near her neck. His heart began to hammer, but he held himself still. Kamsi, his voice trembled slightly. Do you know who this little girl is? She shook her head, eyes heavy with confusion. He exhaled deeply. That girl is my daughter, my only child. Kamsi's lips parted. She got missing 12 years ago, he continued. Her mother took her away one night, and I never saw her again. Silence dropped into the room like a weight. Kamsi blinked rapidly, her chest tightened. Missing? She whispered. For 12 years? He nodded slowly. The girl in the picture, bright, joyful, loved, had been missing for more than a decade. And here Kamsi stood, wearing torn clothes, hungry, homeless, barely surviving. Her head began to spin. She touched her birthmark unconsciously. Sir, what was her name? His eyes softened, his voice almost breaking. Kamsi. Her knees weakened and she grabbed the edge of the couch. Ngozi gasped quietly from where she stood. Chief Obinna felt his breath leave him. He stepped closer, carefully, his hands shaking. What did you say your full name is? My mother always called me, she swallowed hard, Kamsio Chukwu, but everyone calls me Kamsi. A sound escaped him, half shock, half pain. He steadied himself with the back of a chair. The room suddenly felt charged, as though the air itself was holding its breath. Kamsi looked back at the picture, then at him. Sir, who was her mother? He inhaled deeply. Her name was Naoma. The world stopped. Kamsi's fingers slipped from the couch. Her voice cracked. That was my mother's name. Chief Abina's vision blurred with tears. His legs felt weak. For the first time, he truly looked at her. Not as a stranger, not as a hungry girl, but as a possible answer to 12 years of prayers, tears, and sleepless nights. Come closer, he whispered. She hesitated, overwhelmed, but stepped forward. He cupped her face gently, trembling. My dear, what happened to your mother? Where have you been all these years? Kamsi's lips quivered. She got sick 5 years ago, and no one helped us. She died in my arms. Chief Abina's heart shattered. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to breathe through the sudden storm inside him. When he opened them again, they were glowing with shock, pain, and something that looked dangerously close to hope, because now the resemblance was undeniable. The name was undeniable. The birthmark was undeniable. The mother's name was undeniable. And the universe had just whispered the loudest truth of all. The homeless girl he fed tonight might very well be his daughter. Silence fell so thick that even the steady hum of the air conditioner seemed to vanish. Chief Obina stood before Kamsi, staring at her as if he were staring at a ghost, one he had longed for, prayed for, mourned, and kept alive in his heart through memory and photographs. Kamsi's hands were trembling, her breath shallow, her eyes swimming with confusion and fear. Neither of them moved, neither blinked. The past was rising between them like a swallowed secret, finally fighting its way into the light. Finally, Chief Obina spoke, his voice low, shaky, a man afraid of the truth, but even more afraid to lose it. Sit down, my dear, please. Sit. She obeyed quietly, lowering herself onto the cushion again. Her knees were weak, and her mind felt like a noisy crowd, voices of memory, hunger, fear, and wonder all colliding inside her. Chief Obina lowered himself into the seat opposite her. He leaned forward, hands clasped tightly, eyes never leaving her face. I need you to tell me everything, Ipai, he said softly. Everything you remember from your childhood. Everything your mother told you. Take your time. I'm listening. Kamsi nodded slowly, inhaled shakily, then began. The childhood she remembered. My earliest memories are blurry, she said, but I remember happiness. I remember a house, not like this big, but big enough, clean, peaceful. There were flowers in front. My mother used to hold me and dance around the living room. A sad smile tugged at Chief Abina's lips. Naoma loved dancing. Kamsi blinked. Yes. She would spin me around and say, my sunshine, always shine. A soft gasp escaped his throat. He covered his mouth briefly, overwhelmed. I used to call you that too, he whispered. Sunshine. Kamsi's eyes glistened. She continued, her voice growing more certain as memories resurfaced. I remember a man. Chief Obina straightened. A big man, tall. He smelled of perfume. He always lifted me high in the air. He carried me on his shoulders and bought me ice cream. I don't remember his face clearly, but I remember he made me laugh. Tears gathered in Chief Obina's eyes. He whispered, barely audible. That was me. Kamsi pressed her hand to her mouth as the weight of his words settled inside her. She pushed on. But then something happened. I don't know what it was. But one night my mother packed a bag. She was crying. She held my hand so tightly I thought it would break. She kept saying, we have to go, baby. We have to leave now. Chief Abina's chest tightened painfully. Kamsi swallowed hard and looked at him. Why? Why did she leave? He looked down at his hands, shame thick in his voice. Naoma left because of a misunderstanding, a terrible one. I was running a political project at the time. Some men threatened me. They wanted to hurt me. They watched my home. One day they confronted Naoma while I wasn't around. He closed his eyes in pain. She thought it was safer to disappear than to let our daughter grow up under danger. He sighed deeply. I searched everywhere. I begged her family. I paid detectives. But she vanished without a trace. Until now, I did not know where she ran to. Kamsi lowered her head. She didn't tell me any danger story. She only said we couldn't go back home because you didn't want us. Chief Obena's eyes widened. What? She said you didn't want her anymore, that you were angry with her, that you were going to take me away from her tomorrow. A sound halfway between a groan and a broken cry escaped him. He stood abruptly, pacing the room, fingers buried in his hair. Oh God, Nanyoma. Why would she think that? Why would she tell you that? She was scared, Kamsi whispered, and confused, and alone. He stopped and he looked at her, really looked, pain slicing through his heart. All these years, he murmured, voice cracking. All these years, I thought she ran because she didn't love me anymore. I didn't know she was protecting you. I didn't know she thought I was the danger. His hands shook visibly. He sank back into his seat. Tell me what happened next, he said, voice breaking. Kamsi nodded, wiping her tears. We moved from place to place. She worked small jobs. She protected me from everyone, but she kept getting weaker. She would cough at night, really bad cough. Some days she couldn't stand. Chief Obina felt tears slip down his cheeks. And then, Kamsi breathed shakily. One evening she didn't wake up from her nap. I shook her and shook her, but she didn't open her eyes. I screamed for help, but nobody cared. I carried her picture frame and her wrapper and ran, but there was nowhere to go. She looked down, her voice dropping to a whisper. I buried her myself. Behind the abandoned building she used to sleep in. I was only 14. Chief Obina let out a strangled sob. He covered his face and wept, quietly, painfully, like a man watching his world shatter and rebuild at the same time. Kamsi watched him with trembling lips. Only now was she realizing how much her story wounded him, how deeply he cared for the woman she had loved too. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were red but full of determination. My dear, he said softly, I need to show you something. He rose and walked to a large cabinet. From the punk drawer, he pulled out a box wrapped in velvet. He brought it to the table and opened it slowly. Inside were photographs, newspaper clippings, and a worn-out missing person poster. Kamsi leaned forward. The poster showed a picture of 5-year-old her and a younger Chief Obina. The headline read, Missing Child, Kamsi Okafor. Her breath stopped. He handed her a photo of her mother, alive, smiling, beautiful exactly as she remembered, but healthier. Kamsi covered her mouth in shock. She looked up at him slowly. Sir, she whispered, is this real? He nodded, one slow, heavy nod. I have been searching for you for 12 years, he said, voice breaking. I never stopped. Not one day. Kamsi's vision blurred. His next words hit her heart like a flood. My dear, you are my daughter. Her breath caught, her chest tightened, her hands trembled uncontrollably. You're my father? She whispered, lightheaded. Chief Obina stood, walked to her, and dropped to his knees before her, tears streaming openly. Yes, my sunshine. I am your father. The world shifted beneath her feet. Her body froze. Her soul screamed. And then, she collapsed into his arms, sobbing a year's worth of pain, hunger, loneliness, and longing. He held her tightly, protectively, reverently, as though afraid she would disappear again. My daughter, he whispered. My daughter, my daughter. 12 years of prayers had finally been answered. 12 years of absence had finally come home. For a long time, father and daughter remained in each other's arms. Two broken halves finally reunited. Kamsi sobbed softly into Chief Obina's shoulder, trembling from a lifetime of pain that suddenly had somewhere to land. Chief Obina held her even tighter, his tears falling into her hair. He didn't care about dignity, about the image of a billionaire, or about the house staff quietly watching in stunned silence. Tonight he was not a public figure. He was simply a father who had finally found his child. When their tears finally slowed, he cupped her face again and whispered, My daughter, as long as I live, you will never suffer again. Kamsi's lips trembled. Daddy? It was the first time she ever said that word with meaning. The sound hit him like holy thunder. His chest rose and fell as he held her again, overcome with emotion. A new reality begins. Chief Obina helped her to her feet carefully, as though she were a newborn baby who had to be protected from even the wind. He called out to the maid standing near the doorway. Ngozi, please prepare a guest room for her. No, prepare the blue bedroom upstairs and make it warm. She must sleep comfortably tonight. Ngozi blinked. The blue room was the second most luxurious room in the mansion. Only his master suite surpassed it. Yes, sir. Chief Obena then turned to Kamsi and touched her shoulder gently. You need rest, my sunshine. I'll call the doctor immediately. You must be checked, fed well, and taken care of. Kamsi shook her head weakly. I'm okay, sir. He raised a finger, smiling through emotion. I wasn't asking for permission. I'm your father. This is my responsibility. Her heart fluttered. Her father. She finally had a father. A real one who held her with both hands and didn't push her away. Tears gathered again, but he wiped them himself. No more tears tonight, he said softly. Only joy. He called someone from his phone. Dr. Kingsley, I need you at my home immediately. Yes, tonight. It's urgent, but not an emergency. Come quickly. When he ended the call, he guided her gently up the staircase. Kamsi's legs were wobbly, unused to climbing steps that didn't echo with dirt and wind. She clutched the banister, overwhelmed by the warmth of the lights, the soft rug beneath her feet, and the realization that she didn't have to fear being thrown out. Not anymore. Halfway up, she whispered, Daddy, what if I'm not the girl in the picture? What if we're wrong? He stopped and looked at her with the kind of certainty only a father could possess. My heart recognized you before my eyes did, he said. Nothing in this world could convince me otherwise. The house comes alive. While Kamsi was being taken upstairs, the mansion erupted into quiet but urgent movement. Maids rushed to prepare the room. Clean sheets, warm blankets, and soft pillows were laid out. A warm bath was prepared. Fresh clothes, simple but beautiful homeware, were arranged on the bed. The chef ran into the kitchen, already preparing gizzard pepper soup, warm milk, jollof rice, and tea, unsure what she would prefer. News travels quickly in a house full of staff. The whispers began. Is it true? She's the missing daughter? She looks so much like him. God is wonderful, oh. Even Musa, the gateman who had thrown her out, stood frozen in horror. He sat on a stone near the gate, hands on his head, whispering, Jesus, I didn't enter trouble. I pushed Madam Pikin. I dragged billionaire daughter. Ha! My job didn't finish. He contemplated resigning before morning broke, a shame beyond words. A father's happiness. After her bath, Kamsi stepped out wearing fresh clothes. She touched the fabric. It felt too soft, too warm, too expensive. She stared at herself in the mirror, no longer the dirty, hungry girl who had slept under kiosks. For the first time in years, she looked like someone who belonged somewhere. When she stepped out, Chief Obina was waiting in the corridor. He looked at her and smiled, really smiled, the way he used to smile at the little girl he once swung in the air. My daughter is beautiful, he said quietly. Kamsi lowered her gaze shyly. Come, the doctor is here. Medical checks and a father's regret. Dr. Kingsley examined her carefully. Blood pressure, heart rate, weight, temperature. She's very malnourished, the doctor said with concern. She needs rest, plenty of food, vitamins, and emotional support. But she'll be fine. Chief Obena nodded with pride. She is strong. She survived things most adults cannot endure. Kamsi looked down. He touched her cheek. You are stronger than I ever was. The doctor left with a promise to return in the morning. Chief Obena stood beside her bed as though afraid to walk away. She looked up at him. Daddy, are you upset with me for not knowing sooner? He blinked in surprise. My sunshine, how could I ever be upset with you? I am upset with fate. I am upset with myself. I am upset with the world that made you suffer. But with you? He placed his hand on her head. Never. Her eyes softened with gratitude. The celebration begins. Chief Obena called his sister, his cousins, and his closest family friends. Not everyone, only the ones who had stood by him during his years of mourning. Within 2 hours, cars began to pull into the compound. There were gasps, shouts, tears. His sister, Auntie Vera, the woman who had cried with him the night his daughter vanished, entered first. She took one look at Kamsi and screamed with emotion. Obina, this is her. This is her. Look at her face. Jesus, Kamsi, my baby. Before Kamsi knew it, she was wrapped in a warm, tearful embrace. More relatives entered, each one stunned by the resemblance. Cameras clicked. Everyone wanted a picture with the miracle child. Food was served in abundance. The house glowed with laughter and energy. The living room filled with soft music. The chef brought out a special cake he had baked months ago for another event. It didn't matter. Tonight called for celebration. Kamsi sat beside her father, overwhelmed by love she had never imagined. He held her hand proudly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, voice thick with emotion, "my daughter Kamsi has returned home." There was applause, joy, songs, tears. Aunt Vera lifted Kamsi's chin and smiled. "Your mother would be so proud of you. You lived through fire and came out shining." Chief Obina squeezed her hand. "And I will spend the rest of my life making up for the years you lost." Kamsi's heart warmed. "I'm just happy to have a family again." He leaned closer. "My sunshine, you've always had one. You just didn't know." A new beginning. Late into the night, when the guests had left and the house grew quiet, Chief Obina walked her to her room. He paused at the door. "Good night, my daughter." She smiled, a real smile, warm and full of peace. "Good night, Daddy."